We're here. No, I'm just kidding. Let's get serious. Guys, I want to talk to you guys about a topic. Follow me. The topic I want to speak to you guys about today is I want to speak to you guys about change and how can your decisions impact your generations, which is to come through change. Now, first things first, so let's talk. First question I want to ask you is, I want you to all take a look at your life over the last 5 years and ask yourself a question. Over the last 5 years, where was my life and where is my life today? So where was your life 5 years ago in 2014? And if you think about it, it's crazy to think we're almost in 2020. Take a look at your life. Where is your life in 2019? And ask yourself, has much changed economically? Spirituality, family, friends-wise, relationships, savings. It can be house size, it can be car, it can be anything, right? Ask yourself, has much changed in my life over the last 5 years in comparison to now? Now, the reality is, if nothing has changed over the last 5 years, the next 5 years will probably be the same. So in order for you to have a different life, you must be willing to do something with your old life. To have a new life, you need to sacrifice your old one. To have something new in life, you must be willing to do something new. Because think about this, if doing what you're doing would have given you what you wanted, you would have already have it. Just think about it for a moment. And sometimes that split decision that you can make to impact your life can have a huge knock-on effect on generations which is to come. So think about this for a second. I read a study, right? And the study went on to say that after 4 generations of a family, a generation, a people being situated in a specific location, after 4 generations, that family has an advantage as opposed to someone who is first or second generation, right, in that place. So let me give you an example. In my situation, I am a second generation UK citizen, which means my grandparents wasn't here, but my parents arrived to the UK. Now, when they arrived to the UK, then it's myself. So I'm a second generation UK citizen. My kids are third generation UK citizens. So here's what it ultimately means. They don't fall within that 4 generation, that 4 generation advantage, right? As opposed to someone else. Which means I am like the team in football that's trailing 3-0 and I've got to work 2, 3, 4, 5 times harder so I can catch up with someone else. So I knew this in 2013 when I decided I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to work for myself, I want to change my life around. I knew I already started off with a disadvantage. But that motivated me. Listen to me carefully. Sometimes your greatest setbacks can be the biggest comebacks. That was my biggest motivation to change my life, to work hard, to make something happen. And I was able to do so because for me, it's not about working for my first name, which is me. But it's all about working for your last name and setting your generations, which is to come after you, to be in a much better position than you was. And believe me when I say that sometimes that split decision that you make, that maybe at the time you're confused with, it might not seem right, people might be against it. Sometimes that split decision that you make can have a huge impact to not only your life, but generations which is to come after you, whether they're in your family household or not. Let me give you guys an example. December the 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks finished work. After a long day, she sat at the front of the bus. Now, back then, for colored people, you weren't allowed to sit at the front of the bus. The bus driver told her, get to the back. She refused. But because of that refusal, even though at the time she got arrested later that day for a public order offense, but because of her decision, today millions of people around the world are able to be free and sit wherever they want on public transport. Just think about that for a moment. Think about people like, the reality is, and as time goes on, your family will tell you, friends, your closest associates, your people that you have close associations with, they'll tell you things like, it's not going to work, it's too good to be true, it's this, is that, you're not meant to do this. And the reality is, I know a lot of us have that psychological imprint in us already, that we're meant to be at a certain place, that we're not meant to be great, or we're not meant to do something significant. And this is completely normal, and until it's done, until you break that chain, it's going to seem impossible. The same way it seemed impossible in 1954 when Sir Roger Bannister ran when he ran 1 mile in under 4 minutes. Back then, for humans, it was humanly impossible to run 1 mile in under 4 minutes, but he did it. Since he did it until now, today, there's over 20,000 people documented, including high school children, that have broken that 4-minute mile. Just think about that for a moment. But back then, it was seen to be almost the unreachable, the impossible. But it's possible when you make the decision. So guys, my message for you is, don't let your generations after you suffer the result of what you had to suffer growing up. Don't let them have the disadvantage that you had. Set them up to be in a much better position than you was. So that's my message for the day. I hope you really took note from that. Like this, share this. There's someone else that probably needs to hear it. But with that being said, you guys need to get out now. I need to continue my documentary.